Okay, this panel is called Navigating Travel, and that is why we want to talk about how to first travel between worlds, between the past world and our present, and then we also want to think about how do we combine and how can these two people next to me combine the analog and the digital worlds, and how does that help them in making the present, making the past understandable for us in the present. You're going to understand more about that when they explain their projects, because they both have a project they are going to present and talk about today. First, my name is Tasneem Qadiri. I'm 22 years old, and I work as a journalist and a moderator for different editorial offices in Germany. And today, I'm really excited that I can delve into a topic that I usually don't work with, a very interesting topic, which is how I come to Mr. Körber-Stiftung. He is Chief Innovation Officer at Dentsu Creative India and has a passion for unfiltered history telling. Körber has been at the forefront of pioneering projects that challenge traditional narratives and push the boundaries of virtual reality. His work at the British Museum, the Unfiltered History Tour with Vice, has provided a fresh perspective on historical events. It is more or less secret. We're going to understand more about how it's secret or how it was supposed to be secret later. My first question to you, Körber, is I read that your project works with Instagram filters. And the way I know about filters is from Snapchat, dog filters, and now with filters that make your nose smaller or your eyes brighter. So very different from history. How did the idea originate to combine filters in your work and your way of commemoration?
Landing on Instagram was an exploratory journey for us. We started with the thought, build it on a website. And said, nah, a website is not a social platform. Then the next opinion was, let's create this on a classic social platform, which was Facebook. Why not create an interactive post? But then we realized interactive posts are not a usual norm. You still need to educate someone or tell someone how to use it. And again, we said, it's not doing the justice because we want to tap to the younger audience set. We want to create something cool like TikTok or Instagram. And then after a research, we bumped into this creative asset, which is an AR filter. And we thought, oh, AR, let's do this. But because it's AR technology, which is highly immersive and engaging, it also let users to customize the medium as per their immersiveness. And Instagram is a widely used platform. And you don't need to tell someone how to use an Instagram filter because they are already used to it. So it's easy for us to figure out to use a medium which are by default users are used to using it in a daily medium. And we felt like bringing the story from the past to the present, and which can go into the future. Instagram is a perfect platform because it's simple, it creates curiosity, and it resonates with the audience set. And the topic like this, when you steal someone's heritage, you also steal their right to participate in for the future generations. So that's how we started with Instagram filter.
And maybe I need to explain a bit more how they used Instagram filters. You used filters in a way, or rather augmented reality. And through that, if you visited the British Museum, you could point your phone at a certain object, and you could see the actual or maybe just a different story than the British Museum had. And it was about how stolen artifacts are not being shown in the real way or the way that the people these artifacts were stolen from want to be imagined. And you also have a small film about how it works. I don't know if it's already being played.
Oh, yeah, it's a case film.
Huh?
If you have a case
film. A film. Can you play it with sound? A bit louder, and on these things, or is it just playing there because I can't see that monitor?
You can see it here.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I can see it, but there's no voice.
There's no voice. Can you put on the voice, or?
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Thousands of miles away.
Say the British Museum.
Can you rewind this? Can we start from the beginning?
Contested artifacts.
No.
The British Museum is a public institution dedicated to human history, art. Come discover over 80,000 works from around the world, here in London. You are now viewing the Greagle Shield. Captain James Cook was a British event.
We're now looking at the Greagle Shield, which was taken from my people.
Collections in the British museums are premised on a simple idea. I'm proud of what my grandfather stole from yours.
The Rosetta Stone was not a discovery neither of the French, neither of the British. It was already discovered and reused in Egypt multiple times.
For us, it's not just a well-carved rock, it is a living ancestor.
This very important statue is on display in a museum thousands of miles away.
Say the British Museum is the world's largest receiver of stolen goods. We're launching an interactive tour of some of its most contested artifacts.
There is always a story behind every object that was made in the kingdom, and that is how we told our history.
There were two foreign powers in rivalry over Egypt. One of them won over the other, and they took the war spoils of the other.
I feel I've received a balanced narrative.
For many Assyrians, it was maybe the last time we could really stand up to people who were trying to bully us.
We sort of went around the world and took what we wanted, and it makes me feel a deep level of shame.
Museums around Europe are slowly realizing that exhibiting items taken by force hundreds of years ago from other countries is kind of gross. And it's about time. We can't change the past, but we can change how we engage with it in the present.
I feel like an applause could be a good thing now.
Thank you.
We're going to speak a bit more about why those filters are not available on Instagram anymore later, but I would like to introduce the second panelist first, Mr. Khalid Hiatli. Khalid is an archaeologist and the director of Heritage Roots. He has been actively engaged in numerous archaeological projects in Syria, working in collaboration with the Institute of Digital Archaeology, and that is also connected to the project you're going to be speaking about today, Digital Syria. We're going to see a clip later, but first I wanted to ask you, because on the website of your project I saw a slogan, bringing the dead cities to life. How did that idea originate? Because I can imagine when a city is being attacked, or a whole country, your country, my first idea wouldn't be, how do we preserve this? And what can I do? It would be something different, but you did exactly that. So why and how?
Yeah, it's a really big project and important project, because if I can describe the dead cities, it's like wide vast area from around 600 to 700 Byzantine villages from 5th AD century. And with the starting of revolution in Syria in 2011, we started reminding what happened in Iraq in 2003 and the destruction there and looting for that. So we're expecting that will happen the same in Syria. For that, we decided to start at least to save documentally, digitally, 3D scanning as we can from this building and these villages, because it's really important one. It's unique. It's give the all details about the life in that time and mixing between East and West. So they registered it in UNESCO registered in World Heritage Sites in 2011, and later with the war, they registered it in the endangered list. So that's the main idea of the project. Then we have many challenges, you know, for training people, bring the equipment there, and start choosing the software, creating the 3D models, even publish it for the people to show that we can make more and more and more. So that's the main idea. And that's what we start for.
Okay, so it was negative examples in the past that really inspired.
It's like a risk mission, because we know that will happen. And if we're blaming the governments or the political situation there, but there's no enough education for the local people to protect these heritage sites. So we're expecting that more violation, looting, or destroying, plus the active of war. So shelling or bombing and stuff. And that's what happened later with ISIS in Palmyra, in Mosul, Aleppo, Raqqa, all this stuff. So we have to think one step forward at least. Otherwise, we'll lose everything. We already lost a lot, but we saved some, as I'm thinking, but we need more and more.
And I hope it's possible to play a clip of how exactly the work of Digital Syria looks behind the scenes.
Yeah, you can see in the screen.
Not yet?
Yeah.
They're playing it.
You already see.
But?
Good. It's like time-lapse for the robotic arms. After we scan the buildings, or this example is the arch, the Tomb of Arch from Palmyra, then we bring the real marble and start carving the old details on that and building replica, half size. It's like 12 ton. And we erected in many locations around the world, starting with London, New York, Dubai, in Italy, and then moving from place to place just to promoting this work and to raise awareness about what happened in Syria for the heritage site.
Yeah, I'd like another applause. I'm not sure if the video is done yet because I can't see it, but
I think they can see it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good, then.
It's looping video, so it's just time lapse. So.
Okay.
But you can see how much details this robot can make, and even this one, it's like 6-7 years ago, and with the development of this digital media and the accuracy of the software, you can create more and more details.
If you have any questions during the panel, then you can raise your hand. I'd like to take the questions in the end. We have a time slot for that. But if you have an immediate question and I see that there's time for your questions, then raise your hand so I have it in the back of my mind. But we know your projects now. We know a bit about it. But the first thing, it obviously started with something in the analog world, with something that you wanted people to understand and to know. What kind of story or what kind of worlds do you want to connect? What is in the past or in the analog that you want to bring into our world, into the present?
Yeah, it's from archaeological view as archaeologists, Base of archaeology, it's just to bring understanding the past and bring it to present. And the digital situation or the digital tools, we can say just tools to do this goal. And in this case, we can do many options and creation for stuff. So like in the museum, in the past, they used just the statues itself without any hologram or VR or 3D modeling or navigation. So I think we still exploring more and more because the archaeological field can consume more and more digitally, but it's still in the beginning, we can say, for that.
And for your group, which stories in the past did you want to bring to light? What kind of artifacts or what kind of stories were part of your project, your Unfiltered tour?
So for Unfiltered History Tour, we picked 10 of the most contested artifacts which British Museum is stolen from across the world. Because these artifacts are heritage of the native people, right? And it's ironically that British Museum is charging money for seeing these artifacts. You're gonna pay for seeing stolen things. These artifacts belongs to the people, and these stories needs to be conveyed. Because if you don't educate the upcoming generations, because these conversations like these required a very longer sort of continuous approach. It won't happen a change in a day or a 2 day, right? When you create something which has a continuous impact, a larger, long-lasting impact, then if not today, then tomorrow the result will come, right? But you need to keep on pushing this agenda by using technology. If we can't, in a country, if we can do a campaign digitally, it will reach across the world. Then you are bridging these analog and digital world together, because a campaign from India can reach all across the world, and people from different continents, different regions can come together and protest about the thing that something is going wrong. We need to do correction for ourselves and also for the upcoming generations.
Mm-hmm. And that is what you did, right? You explained in a meeting that we had beforehand how you from India during Corona worked together with people in London, for example, who were in museums for you. Can you maybe explain the process of developing this tour?
So the inception of this project sounds like a far-fetched ambition. Because the entire development, entire thing happened during the COVID-19 lockdown, which means you can't travel to the British Museum, right? You can't travel, and so we need to think of a solution that how remotely, without visiting to the. In fact, till date, I have never been to the British Museum. I've never.
You don't want to give them money, okay? I get it.
They will cut you.
No, but I want to go, but without going to the British Museum, you are creating an AR filter. AR filter means to work it really nice on a platform like Instagram. You need to have a real specs. You need to map the artifacts for placing, lighting, mapping. So we thought, why not ask British Museum? Then what we're going to ask? Hey, British Museum, we want to come with a commercial scanner, and then they're going to ask us, what do you want to do? Oh, we want to public shame you. Regards Team India. That's not going to happen, right? So we need to figure out a hack that how we can do this. And then we bumped into this silly sensor on back of your iPhone. It's called LiDAR. Usually it's used for putting ear things or nose, fancy nose as a AR filter. We thought, why not use this simple. It's an advanced tech, but it's in a layman's one, it's a simple sensor, right? Why not use this simple sensor to scan these artifacts? So what happened, Vice has assigned a set of volunteers in London. So these people are going and spending 5 hours at the British Museum staring one artifact, because they were scanning it. And they're sending the footage back, but when you do these minute things remotely, especially when a layman is doing it, it required a lot of time. For a 5-minute job, you need to have 5 hours. Because it's almost like you're maneuvering a rover on Mars, because you say, oh, this is not working, let's redo this. So we gradually started remotely gathering all the lighting placement data of all the artifacts. But it was a nightmare because once we solved a problem, we always landed with another one. So I remember there's a specific artifact called the Goigel Shield. It's a nice, beautiful artifact made from wood, and it belongs to 1800th century from the indigenous people of Australia. So apart from all the filters, we got a strange observation feedback from the set of volunteers who were testing these filters. They said, oh, seems like your filter has its own mood and mind, because on Sunday it's working, on Monday it's not working, and on Tuesday it's again working. What is this? Either the filter works or not. Either no, it's working, but it's strangely, we don't understand. This kind of feedback is really hard to figure out what is happening at the London Museum, because you are very far. Then I think after spending a week, we realized these volunteers were going on a different time frames. So someone is going in the morning, someone is going in the evening. And this specific artifact was placed at a very tricky location. It was placed near 2 big casements where the light were falling. Then throughout the day, the lighting keep on changing on that specific artifact. And to tell everyone, Instagram filters, they work on a constant. If you map a certain set, it needs to be a constant. If you change the thing, the filter will not work. Then I said, oh, what we do, because we don't let go this artifact, right? Because these are the artifacts which are by default making so many news articles. We need to cover this specific artifact. He said, okay, let's do a simple trick. Let's create 2 different filters, one for the day and one for the evening. So someone, depending on the time, will redirect the user to their specific filter, and that will solve the problem. And we are happy, yay, we solved this problem. And it works for a week absolutely fine. Then we got a call again from the team, sir, your filter is not working. And what happened? It started raining. What I'm trying to mean, because what happened, this guy in the morning was trying to scan the filter, but there was a cloud. And then the lighting condition changed in the day. It's almost like evening. So the filter again stopped working. And this was crazy, that how much science is required to solve the problem. Now, right now, what happened? What is the solve? When you go at the museum, point your camera to the Google Shield, your request is going to a satellite. The satellite then seeing, oh, is there the cloud or not? What is the weather? Based on the real-time weather, you will be served a different filter. And there's a lot of science, but there is a say, if there's a will, there's a way. So, as I said earlier, once we solved a problem, we bumped into another one. I think after finishing all the filter, we said, OK, we are done. Let's submit it to the Instagram for approvals. We got a really strange feedback from Instagram. So Instagram was not approving any of the filter because they're saying, they rejected all the filters saying it's a violent content. Because we are showing what happened in the past. There are a lot of illustrations where we are showing how brutally they have stolen this cultural heritage from the native people. And we are shocked that how you can convey, how you can define a subject which is educational as violent. How you can define something that what happened with your ancestor in the past as violence. I think there needs to be a defined line between violence and education in terms of platform.
Yeah.
Big debate.
How did you solve that problem? Were there certain...
Then we ended up tailoring, toned down the illustration, and it was a little funny that we filtered the truth to unfiltered the larger truth. But that's the only way. We toned down the illustration, and then we got approved by Instagram.
How long did that whole process take with making mistakes and finding a
solution?
Oh, God.
So I think the entire project, we took more than 500 days to execute. I lost the count of number of filters we scrapped. I think we scrapped over 200 filters because every time you do something, someone will test and say, this is not working, let's do it again, let's do it again. And it was very funny. We told these volunteers, because you might get caught, go somewhere, because you are staring to an artifact with the phone for 5 hours. Are you really? So that's
some people have strange hobbies. You never know. Don't judge. But yeah. Okay. And was there any kind of response you got from the British Museum? Did they interact with you? Did you?
I'm sure they will be not happy about it.
Okay.
We never got an official response from British Museum, but that is evident because post this campaign, the shockwave has gone across the nation, not just nation, internationally. A lot of news publications picked the topic. There were a lot of weight added to the subject. And in fact, we are happy that this entire project not just made conversation. There's a real action happened because a lot of these artifacts are now officially in a process of being returned, including India.
Yeah, a big win.
Yeah.
Nice. But a thing I did see that might not be a win or maybe just a setback is that the filters are not available anymore on Instagram. Why is that?
I believe don't name it, but I'm sure few bad people who don't like it reported it as abuse.
Okay, so it was reported, and that's why it's gone.
Or the institution, maybe, because this kind of freedom to use this new digital medias and stuff, it's allowed you to say the narrative story, not just the official story from British Museum. And now when you're doing that, and you have to face another problem with Instagram, which two big companies, we can say Instagram and British Museum, and you planning to face all of them and promote your story. And that another idea, because we need to like open source platforms so he can do all this work without facing all this problem from Instagram or from British Museum.
Yeah, that can be a way forward, but we need to do these eye-opener exercises, eye-opener campaign, because if a platform wants to grow, they need to be open, right? You need to, because if you want to use their platform for daily usage, they need to give us the freedom to do such kind of work which is meaningful, right? Mm-hmm. Which can bring change to the society.
Did you have any kind of, because sometimes you have the support system as an editorial office to speak to TikTok or Instagram and you tell them what is happening there and they give you an answer. Did Instagram give you any answer aside from this is too violent and we have teenagers on this platform?
Yes, 28 times their content is violent.
And that's the only response you got? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You also experienced some issues and problems, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us how, when you developed Digital Syria, I mean, there was a war coming, I'm sure there were a lot of problems. How did you still use technology to create Digital Syria and what kind of hiccups were on the way?
Yeah, we faced a lot of problems because in that time, if we speak about the photogrammetry development, that was in early steps in that time, and even in Syria, we didn't hear about it. We don't have anybody can do this kind of work in that time. So later when I left to Europe and educate myself, and I did my research about that, we start moving all these expertise, we can call it early expertise, to inside Syria. So remotely, we have to teach the team there. Remotely, we have to show them what exactly what to do.
Just now, which year are we in when you are teaching the team?
In 2015.
Okay.
But the problem started in 2010, 11, when the revolution started. So we decided to do this project, and we have to move all this knowledge, we can say, to the people inside Syria. And in that time, there is no institution to supporting them because we was working in different areas with 5, 6 fighting parties inside Syria, and including ISIS or Nusrat Sham or the Assad regime, with United Nations and everybody, just including the terrorist part. So, and it's not easy for this team to just jumping from place to place and taking photos. And in that time, I remember that the media speaking that if you're carrying camera, it's more dangerous than if you carry gunshot or stuff in Syria. So they fighting all kind of media in that time. So we trying to help them, trying to support them, and we faced another problem to moving the equipment to Syria, moving the software, the cameras, and all drones. We couldn't do that. They take it all. So that we can say logistic problems and software educational problems. But with the time, we do it. In the last point, we try to move 2 members from the team to Turkey, and then we go there, make intensive workshop for them. And step by step, they are expert now, taking photos. You can send them to any location. They can take, if you can see there's 3D model, we will show it now. It's from Citadel of Jabar, which in Raqqa side. You can see it here. It's a big site, and it's near Raqqa, where it's supposed to be capital of ISIS. They take all the pictures, thousands of pictures, and we put it in the software. It takes like 4 or 5 days. I remember that, 5 days, the computer working on hours and just waking in the night just to be sure if everything is okay or not. And now we have final result for these models. And we have many options to use it in different ways, for restoration, for educational panels, everything, even VR, games, stuff like that. So it's really complicated, it's really challenging project, but if I remember that, I didn't think they will do that. But now they are experts. I have experts in Syria, and they can do everything.
How many sites did you already document?
In the dead cities, we documented almost 100, 120 houses there. And other locations around Aleppo and Raqqa, we did the museum, we did the citadel. And we're still working on some other location, but it needs more time for that, yeah.
And what kind of technological tools have helped you? I've heard you took pictures, so with your phone?
Yeah, we based on the photogrammetry, the traditional photogrammetry. We didn't use laser scan because it's more complicated for us and more complicated for the team and even for lack of the equipment. But normal 2D cameras in the overlap ways, so we have to take all the pictures around the object or the building or the house, and it's almost minimum take 1,500 picture for the house. And then we have to include all this inside the software. There's many software in that time, expensive softwares, but fortunately we have open space, open source now for this kind of work. And then with the time you can progress all these pictures and editing, filling holes, changing the colors or the lights to produce all these kind of 3D models, yeah.
We've heard with Görber then that when the work was done, institutions still held them back from really showing people the vision. Was it the same for you? Did you have any kind of pushback from institutions, governments, terrorist groups? I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes, because, you know, it's not for me personally because I'm outside Syria, but I know that for the team inside Syria, they many times they've been asked. They ask them to come to the security places just to check what they're doing and why they're doing that, and later they showing the lost result, and we can say they understand a little bit. It's not related to the political situation there, so that's what they care about. But we can manage that. I think the team managed that and stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no one?
No one.
Okay.
I hope.
Okay, good.
So far. We don't know.
So far.
But as you can all hear and see, these two people are experts at connecting people with the past that are in the present, which brings us to the first aha slide and your participation. And my question to you is, do you see yourself as someone who connects different worlds to another? Aha slide. I had to tell someone that, yeah. Yes, you can. I know how to use it, right? Ah, no, I see. Okay. You can tell your answer while they are. I mean, you obviously see yourself as someone who connects worlds. Which worlds do you see yourself as connecting, Görber?
Oh, yes. So when you're talking about me as a creative tech guy, I see my job to create a seamless tunnel between the analog and the digital world, where the things from the past can be unalteratedly teleported to the future or to the present, because when you bring something back from the analog to the digital world, you need to be very careful that you are not altering it. You need to maintain the authenticity of the content is important. Because digital is an add-on to the analog world. You can embrace an analog world by using digital technology, but things should not change at any point in time, because history is a topic that you can't alter it, right? You can create mediums, you can create ways to convey it to the present and to the future, but you need to keep it, maintain the original form and factor in place.
Okay. And you, Khalid, do you see yourself as a connector of worlds, and which worlds do you connect or try to connect?
Yeah, in terms of worlds, you know, I think keep thinking about the educational world, we can say, just for the kids in Syria, because in my work, I realized that it's really lack of education and information for the people there. And I keep thinking that maybe if before the war we have good educational program for the people, for the local, even the villages around the archaeological site, about how important this one, about building the identity of the people and their pack, their history, their ancestors. So then at least we will find people protecting these archaeological sites and help us in these bad times to protect that. So if I want to connect these two worlds, I want to promote all this digital equipment and digital tools to bring back the story of the archaeological site to this new generation and integrating more and make them at least caring about this history. That's the main point for me, what I'm thinking about that.
Okay. I've seen that everyone said yes, I think. No one said no, which is very interesting. What a surprise. But maybe if you want to, you can shortly tell me, just without a mic, because it's such a small room, we can hear each other, which worlds you connect, just in 2 words, or 3 or 4, very shortly. Which worlds do you connect? You looked at us and you smiled, maybe? In your work? Yeah. I'm like the teacher who picks on. But which worlds do you connect in your work?
Well, I connect the past and then I connect it with the today. Literally, like with the game that we brought over here. That's what it's doing.
More specifically, where? Because most people here.
You mean where?
Do you have a more specific thing that you connect with the present? Maybe.
Yeah, it's bringing up presently a castle that was a medieval castle. It's bringing it to here now.
Okay.
Experience it partly, and then you interact with the character that was back in the
Okay.
Lots of aspects.
Okay. Somewhere over here, maybe, wants to. You? Did you say yes? Which worlds do you connect, or which? Okay, no response at all. Okay, maybe you don't know that I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, but if you want.
It's very simple because I work a lot with the students, so it's about education and enlightening, and it's a great thing that it's cool how people materialize. Because I told about digital Syria to my students, even being yet in Russia, in my previous. So it's well about not only just people who lead, who build this identity, but it's students, because they need to understand what's going on, how the digital technology can help. So I'm a mediator.
Mediator. Okay. Interesting, because these two told me when we were trying to get ready for this panel that they really want to hear from you what your ideas, what your questions are. So I tried to involve you. It was very interesting to have an insight. I'm sure some of you will have good questions because you work in that field too. But first, this user perspective that the woman there was speaking about, like, for example, students, is really important to you because both of your works have to be interacted with or understood by other people. So how do you know that the on- and offboarding for users is working well? How do you collect feedback for your project?
So I think nothing can talk better than the act of doing. For us, we have spoken to a number of people who went to these museums, and when they onboarded, in terms of when they transform from analog to a digital world, we are successful because we are able to put these people into the shoes of the narrator to feel the pain of their ancestors, which they went through. Things. Because when you enter to a museum, when you are standing in front of an artifact, at the moment you are getting teleported to that place where this thing was happening. It's almost like you are getting teleported back in time, and you can experience it because it's an AR filter. You are immersed. It's making such great emotional connect with the audience that now they want to talk about it. They want to share with their friends. And that's how a simple technology like AR, you can engage these new audience, which they can resonate with the larger cause. Because like Khalid and me talking yesterday, we say a lot of these young kids don't want to go to the museum. They said it's a boring thing. But when you create something, I won't say a fun interaction, but when you make it really engaging and meaningful, you can actually engage the new age kids in the topic, which is the need of the hour. You want to add, Khalid?
Yeah. But did you ask for feedback on the street then, and you asked them in front of the museum, or did you have some kind of interaction online, or how?
No. So the Vice did a lot of these school tours to the museum.
Okay.
They got a lot of big batches of students going to the museum, and that's how we know that because it's everywhere on their social. The best part of doing it on Instagram, because when you use an Instagram filter, you don't just consume the content, you also create the content. When you are using an Instagram filter, you can record it from your camera, right? And then when you are posting it on your social, it's like a multiplier effect. And we can see there's so many social mentions from across the world, because people who visited the British Museum were talking about it. Once they have seen, their friend also want to see it, because of the medium, they want to know. They want to understand how a crazy medium like an Instagram filter is talking about such a serious topic, but still we are using the same funny medium which they are using on a daily basis.
Yeah. And what were the challenges for the users consuming digital Syria, or rather, how did you identify the challenges that users had when on or offboarding?
Yeah, we can say two users, or two part of users. We have outside Syria and inside Syria, and even for the feedback, it's same idea. We have people who's seeing online or social media what we're doing, and even with the videos, with 3D modeling, and even on a Sketchfab platform, they can navigate the 3D models. But we couldn't collect good and reliable feedback from inside Syria. So we decided to create a program. It's like has two goals, we can say, to educate the kids about that, especially for the kids, and even collect feedback from them. So we're creating an educational workshop program related to the heritage, related to photogrammetry and creating 3D models. We did almost 15 workshops around Syria with the kids. And in the end of each workshop, we make survey for the kids. Even we make survey before the workshop, ask them about the heritage, about the location they're living around, what they're caring about, what do they know about, even they know the story or not. And in the end of the workshop, and they write all the different answers, and you can see how it's impacting all this stuff. And even we see feedback that please repeat the workshop, please take us to outside to the location, and let's do that. And even they were interested to the social media and posting all this stuff. And the most interesting thing is that they really like the idea of creating 3D modeling and using this new technology in digital world. So we're creating another program just to teach them how to create photogrammetry or 3D models for the objects. And they did great work. We bring many small objects for them, teach them about that, and even we bring computers for them to include it in the software, working together. Amazing result and amazing feedback, and that's what pushed us to make more and more for that.
And how did you two make sure that the on and offboarding is good? Because you said you had challenges. Did the challenges also occur later when it was online? Did people feedback you, that's not working well, or this is too hard for me, this kind of imagery or this kind of story I can't take, that you have to do a different kind of storytelling? Was there any feedback that you implemented?
The only thing I remember, a few of the people posted that we are using British Museum's Wi-Fi to actually consuming the content. That was funny, but that was good also, that because they are giving free Wi-Fi, why not use that Wi-Fi to actually public shame British Museum, because we want these artifacts back. We want these back. But yes, I don't recall any of the negative feedback, because this it just spread like a wildfire. And but the topic was such, everyone got connected. It's like for the first time I've seen a campaign where people are seeing as is almost like one earth. Everyone is together because from everywhere, different parts of the country, there's some artifact which is logged in the British Museum. And they're just putting 5% of the artifacts on display. 95% of the artifacts are behind the locked doors. So, so in terms of feedback,
or just changes you made to Khalid to really make it easier for people that have nothing to do with the topic to interact and understand your projects and onboard on the project, so to say.
Yeah, especially inside Syria, because as I told you, sometimes they come to us, what are you doing? What is that? And why are you doing that? We have to show them exactly what we have. And then they start interesting about that. Some people start helping us, volunteer working that the team, what they told me, there's once there is a small village, they call it Barisha, I think. Yeah, some people come to them and they are farming around the archaeological site, and they were interested about what they said. And in that time, we don't have drone. So one of them volunteered to climb over the house and hold the camera and take photos for us. So it's challenging, but it's showing that if you're doing something, then the people jump on board or leaving the board. That's a really good example for us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then we did have another question for you, but I'm seeing that we only have about 10 minutes left. I'm sure you have questions. So if you have any question, raise your hand so I know how many questions there are. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's okay. Then we can do the aha slide while you quickly before taking your questions, because the other aha slide is about the topic we just spoke about. How important is a well-organized on- and offboarding for lead user traveling from the present into the past world for you? The thing is, I have to wear glasses, but I just don't. So I'm not sure if I can see it. But I really can't see it.
Let's keep updating, yeah.
Yeah, it keeps updating. But let's start with the first question I saw on the left, and then we'll move towards the right, and we'll get to that later. Yes. We can get a mic because I think no one can.
Yeah, sorry. I was just wondering, how does your work interact with like state sanctions negotiations for getting these kinds of artifacts back? Is it like pushing it? Is it hampering it? What is the result of that in relation to those negotiations?
Are you saying on the government level?
If something is happening and if your project helped with change and they're giving something back.
Yep. So I mentioned earlier, there are lot of news, big news publication has covered that the official negotiation is undergo where British Museum is officially returning these artifacts, not just India but a lot of other places. And in fact, recently, Benin bronzes, they are returning few of the artifacts back. So we are not directly involved in the government negotiation, but from post the campaign, because it's created so many layers of conversation across the world. Seeing these news articles that there's a lot of conversation, real actions being transformed, because when you say an official conversation going on, there's always a long time when it actually get realized. But still, we have opened that door for the conversation.
Yeah. I feel like when I saw TikTok about this topic, I knew, okay, it's a thing we all kind of can connect to, and even young people talk about. I saw a TikTok with a person with some TikTok sound, walking into the British Museum and making fun of how everything is stone. So I'm sure your project has something to do with it. I saw the second raised hand over there.
Thank you. So I've got a former colleague who worked on the Syrian digital memory project, which is very political in its space. And one of the things that she had to struggle with was how to think of herself as an activist in working in a university. And I wondered if the two of you think of yourselves as activists, and if so, how do you reconcile that with your professional life? Is it something is it easy to be an activist in what you do, or is it difficult?
Not easy, yeah, because my professional is archaeologist. So I was working inside Syria in all locations and jumping from place to place. And later when I left Syria, I see that I don't know if I'm activist, I can classify myself activist or continue my job or my duty to do that. Because I see that it really need to do something to pay back for Syria and to protect this cultural heritage. Because, you know, I'm originally Palestinian, I am a refugee in Syria. So, and later I'm a refugee in Netherlands. So it's like experienced professional refugee, we can say. But it's because my background, it's caring about heritage, about Palestinian heritage and what happened in the conflict in Palestine. So I understand, I have good background, I have good education to do that. But I couldn't say I'm activist or academic or professional because it's really combined. That's the idea for that. But maybe Körber.
I resonate with what Khalid just mentioned, but it's like you want to do your part in your lifetime. When you do great work, you get great sleep. That's the best way I can put it, because I'm not a true activist, but when you have a project like this, and we found ourselves lucky enough that we're able to contribute what we can, because things which are beyond your control, you can't commit anything, but things as a creative technologies you can create. You can create, if you can create that medium or a channel where people can come and participate, raise their voice, that's more than enough for at an individual level. That gives you a lot of peace in your mind.
Thank you for your question. Is there another question there? Okay.
I'm just curious, and I might have missed this. So if Instagram came back and kind of put the block on your filter, so where is the project at now? And then a second part to that, over there, but
on the table.
No, but in terms of accessibility, in terms of that, and then what are the plans if you're, you know, I've dealt with being blocked multiple times by Apple and other folks because of the kind of content. So we've had to take the creative, put the technology aside and become creative of how to get this message out. So I'm wondering what's taking place. And then I'm also curious because there's a lot of conversation that's taking place about appealing to young people. And while I think it's obviously important and something that I do, are you concerned that maybe sometimes the digital aspect of it becomes an entertainment factor that might actually be the nostalgia and how wow it is what's attracting the younger generation to it? And then what happens to those who are between 25 and 65 who you want to engage, because those voices can not only be just as big, but they can actually bring about just as much change rather than just first time knowing. So I threw two things at you. One is where are you at now and how are you getting around it? And then number two, have you been thinking about how to go beyond just getting a younger crowd to learn about what's taking place in terms of these, I'm going to call them robberies, and then and how do you make it so that some people who might not be technically inclined but might be interested can learn from these lessons that you're providing?
Okay, so the first part, when you've been talking about where we are right now. So we did this campaign in 2019. So once, I think post this campaign is not just about the Instagram filters got blocked, but the vibe they created before getting blocked is more important. Because it's a guerrilla campaign, right? You have done it without the permission of British Museum. You have gone there with small, tiny iPhones, did all the hacks. Because right now, with the current set of narratives, so for example, if you're taking an audio tour guide in British Museum, it's a very small set of information which they are giving. But for a person, for a new age person, they don't know the backstory. They don't know these artifacts are dipped in blood. Once you have convey these messages for the younger audience set. And if that filters are blocked, that's absolutely okay, because creating 10 more filters doesn't take any amount of, you can create multiple links, but we have not done it. You can upload a filter multiple times, right? But sometimes it will work for another week, then they will block it. But there are ways, but I think those are smaller conversation, because what we tried to build with this campaign to create a larger picture that something needs to be done. You can't keep silence that one day the government will change their policies, or big guys will take action. As a creative community, what you can do to bring a platform or to bring a stage where people can come together, which happened with this campaign.
And the second question, how to connect with older people? Is there an idea or something outside of social media rather? Because what you're saying is basically they don't have Instagram. How do you show them these untold stories?
I think in one line, I repeat my line, when you steal someone's heritage, you also steal their right to participate in for the future generation. I think this entire campaign is about how the future or upcoming generation don't lose the thread. That's why we picked that platform, so they can understand, this platform has the capability to do such serious kind of stuff apart from enjoying your daily life, right? Because social is your virtual life for youngsters, right? They see it as their parallel identity. If they can understand the seriousness of these platforms can be used for a greater cause, then nothing like it.
Okay, so the focus was young people and these generations, because you think that is the future and those are the people you can still connect to on social media, and you don't want to lose them to social.
Yeah, for a mid-range audience set, they are already there. A lot of traditional ways to bridge the gap. But for this one, we kept it very sharply focused toward the youth.
Okay. You had a question, right? Can she get a mic, please?
First, I just sincerely admire of the things that you're doing, because it's the connection of digital and the humanity. And this is great. I have a question to Gurbaksh. I'm very curious about the curatorial approach and what sort of research behind it. Or did you just use what's sort of familiar to highlight something? Or it was more serious and methodological, methodic work to discover the things, to show, to explain, and all the stories behind?
Oh, so this was it's a very deep research project, because, and from an art historian to a cultural curator, everybody was on board. In fact, if you see the podcast series, the 10 podcast series featuring these people from different continents, and they were the actual ancestors of these artifacts which were stolen from their ancestors.
The podcast series is available on Spotify, for example. You can listen.
In fact, we have gone to a way. In fact, if you see all the illustrations, we have taken the minute thing in detail. For example, what kind of bows they were using at that point of time, what kind of gun, what caliber of bullets were used while these British Army was invading these heritage sites. From the smallest detail to the larger detail, everything was deeply researched, because as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to alter anything. We want to convey the true story, what happened in the past. We want to bring everything to the future, so that it can go into the present, and then it can go to the future. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. I think there were no questions left, I hope, because it's 5:01 and we're well over.
Now I'm enjoying it.
Now I'm enjoying it. But I think I saw some people walking around. We don't have time for any other question. If there is, would we have some buffer? Okay, because I wanted to ask a closing question that maybe you can engage in later when you want to discuss this, because this was really important to you as you worked in the project. You told me, how do you deal with the big question of what should I do with what I was able to find out? I heard that question over there too before. What do you do now if nothing happens? I mean, you said the British Museum is trying to bring back some things, but time's ticking and the things are not back in their countries. Do you have that feeling of my work is not really getting anywhere, or do
I think they, as a British Museum, they're pretending that they will return some things. As if you remember, we was talking outside that there's a new, you can say, small solution about earthen marble from Greek. They put it in the museum, and now we start already scanned the part from them, the head of the horse, in very detailed, and we printed in same color marble from Greece and from same quarry, we can say. So it's almost identical of the original stuff. And we go to the British Museum and show them, please take it, put it in the museum, and return the original one back to Greece. And they said, okay, but we'll see. And they still, take more time and refusing to expose this artifact inside the museum, so we go another museum, and they expected. And so we're trying to push more and more, putting more pressures, as Körber work did. All the media doing that. In the end, I'm optimistic about that. They will do it. There's many stuff. If we speak about Germany, because we are in Germany, we're speaking about Nefertiti head. And the Egypt keep demanding that we want it back, we want it back. So we have, maybe these new digital tools can give us solution for these problems. We can reprinting same size, original, detailed head for Nefertiti and put it in the Museum of Berlin and then return the original back to Egypt. And because there is the idea, it's not about a physical artifact, it's a story behind the artifact. It's not, they didn't come to see in British Museum the marble or the artistic style of the marble. They come to see which marble, why they want to fight about it for this long time, 10 years or more than that. So it's about the story behind the artifact. Even we have hologram for the artifact, we can deliver the story about it. So that's what I'm thinking. In the future, optimistic that we'll find many museums start returning, even not stolen, but illegally bought or smuggled. So we don't know, but I think they can do that.
Yeah, so you're optimistic. What about you?
So Tess, answering to your question, now imagine as a creative community, at the time of COVID-19, when we can't visit the museum, we have sent so many shockwaves across the world. Now the British Museum is open. Now imagine what we're going to do next if they're not going to return it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like that is a good ending sentence. Thank you, too, for the panel. And you can obviously talk to them, ask different questions if you have any, and maybe discuss the last question that a lot of you probably have for your own work, and discuss that. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.